other than simply the occurrence or the incidence of natural resources, or the availability of natural resources. So what is it? What is it that drives traded industries to come in? Ones that will sell outside of our region. What is it? Historically, policy has been, in order to bring these industries into a particular region, is that we're going to give them a bunch of goodies. We're going to say, oh, we'll create TIF districts, tax incremental financing districts for you. We will find you some cheap, if not free land, because we know that's number one on your checklist, to whether or not you're going to come in. We're going to try to get you to come in, not based on what's already here, but based on what we're going to give you. We have found that that model has not been working for us, quite frankly. That model has not been working. So why would an industry why would a traded industry want to come into a particular region? They want to do that because there are resources in that region that don't exist in others. And next week and the week after, I'm going to really focus some attention on the impact that labor has, the quality of the labor force has on inducing traded industries to come into a particular region. But let's just suffice it to say that these trade industries don't necessarily need natural resources, they need other things. Education facilities. We'll see in the next set of slides that there's a lot to be said for the quality of life issues. How do we get folks to live in the region as well as work in the region within these traded industries? And so we'll see that that, again, is resources other than the simple natural resources that we would see if you have to extract steel, iron out of the ground in order to make steel, those sorts of things. Local industries. Local industries generally provide goods and services to the local market. It's mostly services. These would be your, for the want of a better expression, would be your mom and pop stores that don't generate themselves, don't market themselves as a destination for those folks outside the region. They generally serve the region. And I know, again, Dr. Bajanbak talked a little bit about that in his input-output models, how we have local as well as exporting businesses. The local businesses generally do not export. They will provide services within the region. Accounting firms, law firms that operate locally. I keep saying environmental law, but it's immigration law, right? There we go. That's what Joanna wants to do. Well, immigration law probably would be exporting, right? But environmental law may be inside. Who knows? Maybe work on my contracts. That would be a local service. That would be an example of a local industry, if you will. And then finally, resource-dependent industries. And this is something that quite often is overlooked in regional economic development. Agriculture, and especially in rural areas. They say, oh, we want economic development. Let's bring in some industries. Let's bring in some manufacturing. Whereas you'll see that there are some pockets of very vibrant agricultural efforts. And so, of course, these resource-dependent industries do require natural resources nearby. For example, agriculture, right? In order to feed the hogs, it'd be really nice to have cornmeal somewhere nearby, to go ahead and do that. We talk about some transportation as well, some transportation efforts, especially if we already have a built infrastructure that is conducive, a built geography that is conducive to good transportation. Nice flat lands for rail, for example. We have waterways, or access to waterways for rail in addition to barges and shipping. Those sorts of industries tend to make up the various component parts of a particular region. All right, here we go with clusters. Everybody's excited about clusters. How do we produce clusters? Are clusters good for us? How do we identify clusters? How do we create clusters? That is a focus that we're going to be paying some attention to for the next couple of classes here. Clusters using co-location patterns. Oh, what does that mean? Various industries that are not only effectively the same type of industry and serve the same customers, but also serve complementary customers. One thing that's interesting, I think this is probably a good time for me to kind of back up a little bit and then bring up the, let's see if I can do this. That's not the one I want, but this is, we're going to come to it here. This is the Porter. We'll come back to the specifics here momentarily, but I want to show you some clusters in the Porter. Oh, there we go. Clusters. So much easier for me to show it to you this way and try to duplicate this on a PowerPoint slide. Okay? This is, and what we're talking about here is various coexisting clusters. And this is an example. He did a cluster overlap of the whole U.S. economy. And if you pay close attention to this, you'll see the darker, he's got a little legend down here. Let me break this up a little bit. Let's see. Here we go. Clusters with overlapping borders or identical shading have at least 20% overlap by number of industries in both directions. The darker the cluster, the darker the circle, the more concentrated that particular cluster is. And if you take a look, it's practically every industry we have in this country. And you can see some of the overlap. Plastics overlapping with chemical products. Let me get a pointer here. Ooh, I have a toy. I can do this. Okay. Plastics overlap by chemical products, oil and gas, which are highly complementary and they're input goods. Pharmaceuticals, education and knowledge creation. We'll talk a lot about that later. Analytical instruments, if you will. Information technology, aerospace, vehicles and defense. And then we have some outlying clusters. Textiles. You would think that some of these would touch upon apparel and all that, but according to the Porter analysis, at least in this case, not so much. Anyway, construction materials, building fixtures, heavy machinery, motor-driven products, product technology, aerospace, again, engines in this case, and other component parts that would go into aircraft. Hydraulic systems, for example, would be in here as well. Metal manufacturing, of course. And so this gives an idea of what we're looking at when we are trying to at least picture what these clusters would do for us. You know, notice it's an overlap of the U.S. economy. We don't have a picture of the United States here. Okay, so what this is it's kind of an abstraction of the various clusters, according to Porter's research, that seem to have these strong relationships and strong overlaps in general for the entire country. It's figure 18 of the Porter article. So if you get a chance to take a look at that and the surrounding text to that, that might be useful. Let's go back here. That's not where I want to be. Here I am. If I ever got used to the Control A or whatever it is, I could do that. Co-location patterns, mixes varied across regions, of course. Not every region is going to be Silicon Valley, although a lot of regions tend to want to be Silicon Valley for some reason. Right? We don't want to be Silicon Valley, do we, John? No. What do we want to be?
I want to focus on that area where you have the heavy manufacturing, machinery manufacturing, and the automotive cluster.
Yeah, the automotive cluster, right? By proximity and by infrastructure that we already have built in this area, we need to spring off of that. Instead of saying, gee, we want what they have over there because they're doing so well, let's just duplicate that. You can't do that.
Well, you might like that.
Like, I don't
Triple the size of this institution here.
Well, okay, okay. Are you gonna support that? Probably not, right? Because you know, not in your budget. Yeah, no, it's nice. These are nice to haves over there, right? It's not. Oh, everybody wants high tech, right? That seems to be it. Let's have nanotechnology is the huge thing now, right? Nanotechnology. What does nanotechnology mean?